In the heart of an ancient African savanna, where the sun cast its golden rays across endless fields of tall grass, stood a magnificent baobab tree. This tree, known to the villagers as Niame's whisper, was said to hold the wisdom of generations. Legends whispered that it could speak, but only to those who sought it with a pure heart. In a small village nearby lived Kofi, a curious and adventurous boy of 14. Though he was known for his playful antics, Kofi had a heart filled with wonder and a thirst for knowledge. His grandmother, Nana Ifia, often told him stories of the baobab and how it guided the ancestors. One evening, as the orange hues of dusk painted the sky, Kofi asked his grandmother, "Nana, has anyone spoken to Niame's whisper recently?" Nana Effia shook her head, her weathered face serious. "Not in many years, my child. To hear the tree's wisdom, one must journey through trials that test the soul. Many have tried, but few are chosen." Intrigued, Kofi decided he would find the baobab and hear its whispers. He prepared himself with courage and provisions, some water, dried fruit, and a small knife his father had given him for his last birthday. The next morning, Kofi set off at dawn. The journey to the baobab was long and filled with challenges. He crossed vast plains where herds of antelope grazed and traversed a bubbling river teeming with crocodiles. Along the way, he encountered a wise old tortoise basking in the sun. "Where are you headed, young one?" asked the tortoise in a slow, deliberate tone. "To Niame's whisper," replied Kofi confidently. The tortoise chuckled. "Then you must remember this. Listen more than you speak. Sometimes wisdom lies in silence." Kofi nodded, thanking the tortoise before continuing his journey. As the days passed, the landscape grew harsher. The savanna turned into arid land, and the sun blazed mercilessly. Kofi ran out of water and grew weak. Just as he was about to collapse, he saw a flock of birds circling overhead. "They must know where water is," he thought, and followed them. They led him to a hidden spring shaded by a cluster of palm trees. Grateful, Kofi quenched his thirst and refilled his flask. That night, as he rested under the stars, Kofi heard faint whispers carried by the wind. "Seek the truth within," the voice said. But when he looked around, no one was there. The following morning, Kofi reached the baobab tree. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its trunk was massive, and its roots stretched out like the fingers of a giant. The air around it was thick with an ancient energy. With a trembling voice, Kofi called out, "Niame's whisper, I seek your wisdom." The tree remained silent. Frustrated, Kofi yelled again, "I have come far. I deserve to hear your words." Still there was no response. Exhausted, Kofi slumped against the tree's trunk. Then he remembered the tortoise's advice. "Listen more than you speak." Closing his eyes, Kofi sat quietly, tuning into the sounds of the savanna, the rustle of leaves, the chirping of crickets, and the distant roar of a lion. After what felt like hours, the tree began to hum softly. Its voice was deep and resonant, like the beating of a drum. "Young one," it said, "why have you come?" Kofi hesitated before replying, "I seek wisdom to help my village. We suffer from drought and hunger, and I wish to make things better." The baobab's voice rumbled with approval. "Your heart is noble, but wisdom is not given. It is earned. You must pass 3 trials to prove your worth." Kofi agreed without hesitation. The first trial, courage. The baobab instructed Kofi to climb to its highest branch and retrieve a golden fruit that grew there. The climb was treacherous, with sharp thorns and slippery bark, but Kofi pressed on, ignoring his fears. When he finally reached the top, he plucked the golden fruit and descended carefully. "Well done," said the baobab. "You have shown courage." The second trial, kindness. The tree then asked Kofi to take the golden fruit to a starving lioness and her cubs who lived nearby. Though Kofi was terrified of the lions, he obeyed. When he approached the den, the lioness growled menacingly, but Kofi knelt and rolled the fruit toward her. She sniffed it cautiously before eating, then licked his hand in gratitude. "You have shown kindness," said the baobab when Kofi returned. The final trial. Wisdom. For the last trial, the baobab posed a riddle. "I am not alive, yet I grow. I have no lungs, yet I need air. What am I?" Kofi thought hard, recalling all he had learned on his journey. Finally, he smiled and answered, "Fire." The baobab's branches swayed as if in applause. "You are wise, young one. You have passed the trials and earned the gift of my wisdom." A single golden leaf floated down from the tree and landed in Kofi's hand. "This leaf will guide you. Plant it in your village, and it will bring rain to quench your people's thirst." Kofi thanked the baobab and made his way home. When he returned to the village, he planted the golden leaf in the center square. Within moments, dark clouds gathered and rain poured down, soaking the parched earth. The villagers rejoiced, and Kofi became a hero. From that day forward, Kofi was no longer seen as a mischievous boy, but as a wise and brave young leader. And though he never forgot the baobab's lessons, he learned the greatest truth of all. True wisdom lies in humility, kindness, and the courage to face the unknown.